Hi there. I'm a full-time children's book illustrator and character designer, and I illustrated this children's book about Daniel and the Lion's Den. It's part of the Creator's Toy Chest series, and I wanted to just talk a little bit about it today and what it was like illustrating it. This was a great book to be a part of, and I was really grateful to be part of this series, and I look forward to illustrating more of this series coming up later this year. I wanted to start out by showing one particular illustration in this book, which is actually the illustration that got me the gig altogether for the book series. I did a sketch of this particular page, and that's what sold the author and publisher and helped them decide on which illustrator to use. And I'm glad they liked my artwork and wanted me to work on the book. So I think what sold them on it was just the expressiveness and the fun kind of children's book style that I have. I think it just gave them a good feel of what I could do for the whole series. So I'm glad that they enjoyed it and it worked out and that I could work on the book. And that's too why this cover illustration is kind of similar to that page, because they just fell in love with that right off the bat, and so they wanted something similar to catch people's attention on the cover as well. And I had to do these end sheet illustrations for each book, so they're all kind of a little bit humorous. So this is a fun one where the lion's just napping on top of Daniel, and he just looks like, I can't believe this is happening to me. But when I illustrate a children's book like this, I always lay out the trims and the bleeds on all the pages first, and then I lay out the text on all the pages, and then I sketch in those art files so that I can make sure I leave enough space in an area for the text and lay out the illustrations in a way that works with it. And of course I sketch everything black and white first throughout the entire book, and then I go in and add the color after the sketches are approved. So I'll just kind of flip through here. This was interesting too, because normally Daniel and the Lion's Den stories don't talk about the king's dream or anything like that, but the author did have that in the story where the king explains one of his dreams to Daniel. And so I wanted to use kind of bright, vibrant colors to kind of contrast with the regular scenes so that you could tell on these two pages that it's part of the dream sequence. Kind of took a nod from Disney on that with their, different singing sequences and things like that. But that was a real fun, different page for a children's book to illustrate. And this was part of the dream sequence too. And then, of course, it goes back into the real-life story, and you can see the colors kind of change back to more muted palette. So it's interesting to see. It talks a bit about the different kings that Daniel was a servant under throughout the book, as well as the story of the Lion's Den. And here's one of the second kings. And so it was fun to illustrate a couple different looks for kings in this book. And of course, for this Creator's Toy Chest series, we try to keep all the characters looking fairly young for kind of a different approach to the books, and to try to help kids be able to relate to it a little bit better. And then this was a fun page too, where, that page where Daniel is praying despite the king's decree, and the king's men see him. And I wasn't sure at first if I was going to have it from the ground level where the king's men were, looking in at Daniel at the window, but I felt like it would be better to have the focus be on Daniel praying in his room and then the king's men down there. And then that way too I could bring in the Creator's Toy Chest, which is in each one of the books, and it serves as kind of a representation of the strength that comes from the Lord. And so obviously he's leaning against it as he's praying, which I think is a nice touch. And then, of course, trying to mix up the pages between full scene illustrations and more kind of just a focus on the characters to try to add some variety to illustrations and keep it interesting as the book moves along. Then we have this dark page with the spotlight coming down on Daniel when he's first lowered into the lion's den. That was a fun one to work on. And of course the one I already kind of mentioned there, the kind of focal point illustration for the book, which I absolutely loved illustrating. And then this one was also another favorite of mine, of showing that contrast between fear and unsureness to complete like peace and comfort. I wanted to do something real cute and sweet where, you know, he's just cuddling up to the lion as he spends his night down in the lion's den. And of course the next day when the king sees if Daniel's still alive or not, calling down to him, telling his men to lift him out. Then the author wanted to show the king's men kind of in the background, kind of peeking at what's happening over there. So I thought that's kind of interesting. And then, oh, I missed a page here. And then what's interesting about this series is it doesn't lean away from some of the ending parts of the stories that are sometimes left out of children's books. But I had to show the king's men being lowered into the pit. Obviously, we don't see the lions devouring them, but you do see them getting cornered in the lion's den, and you can put two and two together for that. So it was a fun book to work on. I love doing a lot of fun expressions that hopefully help bring the story to life and bring kids into the book and help it to be more interesting. So I hope you guys enjoy this. If you'd like to pick up a copy of the book, you can search for Creator's Toy Chest or Dan for Dinner on Amazon, or you can look for it at your local bookstore. And if you'd like to see more of my illustrations or would like to talk to me about illustrating your book, whether you're an independent author or a publishing house, feel free to email me through my website at freelancefridge.com, and I'll have the links in my video description below as well. Thanks for watching.